Now that the dust has settled on the 2026 NFL draft, let's talk about where we ended up and what some of the strong opinions are out there.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Cardinals Connection.
Palmer extending the play.
Nobody there.
Crosses the field. Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is going to take it into Green Bay territory. Larry Fitzgerald inside the 30, the 20.
If he
Larry
scores, it's
Fitzgerald
over.
is insane to the 4-yard line. One of the greatest postseason performers ever.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to Cardinals Connection on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kelly Singh, and we officially have a post-draft Arizona Cardinals roster to react to. So, you saw the pre-draft episode, and now the dust has settled. It's been a couple weeks, the picks are in, and let's just say this draft is getting some mixed reviews. So today we're breaking it all down. There was a bold running back decision. There's a very interesting quarterback situation. And whether or not the offensive line actually got better is up for debate. What does this all mean for the upcoming 2026 NFL year? Let's start with the most shocking news, I suppose. Is it shocking though? We took running back Jeremiah Love at number 3 overall, the 1.03. And typically, a running back isn't taken that early in the draft. However, he was the best player available, and that was the logic. But let's get this straight. Jeremiah Love is legit. There is no doubt about it. He's definitely what they call a generational talent. So I don't think it was that much of a reach. He's an award-winning athlete. He's one that we would call elite. He has that 3-down capability that we love and look for. He can run, he can catch, and he can immediately make an impact on the offense, believe it or not. But what I'm worried about is how big our running back room already is. We're definitely going to have to get rid of some people, and that sucks. I have a feeling we're looking at Bam Knight being released. We're looking at Trey Benson being released. But who knows? Anything could happen, basically. But you know that we're not going to keep more than 3 running backs, would we? I don't know. But like I said, you don't usually take a running back that high in the draft unless you believe he's going to change your offense overnight. And obviously, the Cardinals do believe that. They're betting that he's going to change the identity of our offense, that he's going to support our QB room, which is pretty much non-existent. Let's just throw that out there. And he's going to take some pressure off of the passing game, no doubt about that. So, the league-wide reaction, draft grades have been rough, mainly because of tradition, but it's been a widespread, let's just say that. But the question becomes, is Jeremiah Love like a Bijan Robinson 2.0, or is this just a pick for a team that has a lot of holes and they're hoping to plug them up and save this sinking ship? Arguably, the best storyline may be the quarterback room and the Cardinals is pretty much wide open. I know we have Jacoby Brissett. I know he's likely going to get a pay increase, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve. However, it should not be millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, the guy can pass. We did get plenty of passing yards, and if you play fantasy, you know that he provided plenty of fantasy points despite the Cardinals not winning and being 1-11 under his leadership. But then the Cardinals go and draft Carson Beck in the 3rd round. Not only that, we picked up Gardner Minshew in the off season. I, for one, was looking forward to a little chaos, some Minshew magic. Let's throw it out there. Minshew mayhem, some are saying. But here we have now Carson Beck. He did have real production in college. He did get big game experience, and he does have legit arm strength. So it's not that he's a bad pick. It's a confusing pick, let's say. And I also wonder the whole Ty Simpson thing, was that just a big smokescreen to get him to be drafted so that we could pick up Carson Beck? I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a theory. But here's the truth. Carson Beck's not being handed anything. Um, Gardner Minshew obviously is not being handed anything. Jacoby Brissett is not set in stone. What we do know, and if you've been watching this podcast over the last 5 seasons, then you know camp is crucial for this team, and they love to see those quarterbacks fight it out. I mean, there was a time where Kyler Murray's job didn't even seem safe because they were really working these quarterbacks against each other. They were battling it out at camp. So we have Jacoby Brissett, who is our team's veteran presence. We have Gardner Minshew, who is that chaos agent. And we have our rookie, Carson Beck, which brings a lot of upside. But again, this is going to be a competition. There's not really a timeline. There's going to be just an earn it, at least in my observations over the last 5 seasons. It's go out there and earn it. Here's where it throws a little wrench into things. There's a rumor now, and it's becoming a little bit more than a rumor, that Aaron Rodgers may come to Arizona. Why? I don't understand the why. Why would he want to spend his twilight years in Arizona? I don't know. I don't know. We'll definitely be diving into more of that later. But if we do get Aaron Rodgers, then there'll be no question who's starting. I don't think you can't necessarily have a name like Aaron Rodgers and not start him. But take that out of the equation. If Beck starts week 1, it will be because he won the job, that he outperformed Jacoby Brissett. He outperformed Gardner Minshew. And I think the greatest example of a rookie doing something like that, not quite on the same scale, but when Clayton Tune was drafted, he beat out several veterans 2 years in a row to remain the Cardinals' backup. So it happens, and it's something that the Cardinals really enjoy doing with their quarterbacks for some reason. They like to evaluate, they like to explore, they like to buy time. So depending how this season goes, I still think we'll be looking for a quarterback in 2027. And let me know what you think, but that's what I think. Now here's where things really start to get important. Did the Cardinals actually improve the offensive line? I mean, let's just face it. The O-line was about as strong as wet cardboard, and we need to reinforce that with some duct tape fast. They used a premium day 2 pick on Chase Besantis, who is a interior lineman out of Texas A&M. And they added some tackle depth later on in the draft. But this is key. One of the few consistent positives from the draft, they invested in the trenches. They did. We have to give them that. So this tells us that the offense is being built from the inside out. Think about the formula. Power the run game with Jeremiah Love, period. We have upgrades to that interior protection, which he would need and our quarterback would need. And then we have a QB competition instead of a panic. I think that puts us in a pretty good position. I'm not saying, like I was as optimistic as I was last year, but I mean, a good position. This is what rebuilding is about, right? So, anyway, this does definitely looks better on paper, but we won't know if it's fixed until we get to see it in some real games, right? So when we step back and look at the draft as a whole, it's pretty clear what the Cardinals are trying to do. They're trying to build an offense with an identity. They're adding some competition across the roster. I mean, even at running back, is James Conner going to be the RB1? I would think so, at least to start with. But they've added competition across the roster, and they avoided forcing a franchise QB pick. I think there was a lot of speculation it was going to be Ty Simpson. It felt like a reach to many people because Simpson really only played one year, his senior year, and that was it. So, getting Carson Beck, I think, was a much better choice for the Cardinals in this situation. They didn't trade, they stuck to their spots on the board, and they added 7 new players that will help us focus on our offense early on. Reaction across the league, reaction across the fan base, it's really mixed at best because while the vision may make sense, if you really force yourself to think about it, to sit with it, the execution of it all has a few question marks, right? But again, I'm a fanalist. You who are listening, we're fans. We don't necessarily know all the ins and the outs, so we trust, right? The draft didn't solve every problem. Of course, it didn't. It was probably one of the weakest draft classes that we've seen in a while, but there were some highlights. It also told us exactly who the Cardinals want to be under our new coach, LaFleur. They want to be physical. They want to be run first. They want to be flexible. They want to build through competition and get this team in a good place internally. Honestly, after a 3-14 season and a major roster turnover, Calais Campbell, the clear identity of this team might be their biggest win. If they can come up with who they are, who are the Cardinals, that could be the biggest win of all for them because I don't think we've had an identity for quite a while. Did we build a foundation? I think so. Or are we going to be having the same exact conversation next year? I don't think so. I think we have what it takes to build at least a strong foundation for this year and go into next year and maybe finally be done with this rebuild. That's about it for this week's episode of Cardinals Connection. I'm going to keep tracking OTAs, training camp battles, especially news in our quarterback room. So if you've enjoyed this little conversation, please subscribe, leave a comment, share, and I will catch you next week. Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Cardinals Connection on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.